Right. Hello, everyone. We want to welcome you to Sober Sunday, stimulating conversations with me, Simon Bevy. We're very excited to have you and all of you joining us in different pages across the internet and the different watch parties as well. We're glad to be together tonight to continue our conversation on wisdom for these lean times. And this is part two. We had part one last week, and this is part two of that conversation. There was a lot of demand, a lot of questions, a lot of many of you asking us to continue the conversation. And so we're here and we're doing this together. And before I introduce my guests, I want to read a scripture that introduces this theme of wisdom. This is in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13 to 16. And it says, blessed is a man who finds wisdom, the man who gains understanding. For she is more profitable than silver, that is wisdom, and yields better returns than gold. She's more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. It's interesting how the Bible here, talks about wisdom being even greater than riches, than gold, because wisdom is important. You could be very wealthy, you have a lot of money or very rich, but because of lack of wisdom, you lose it all, or you don't build it up to become wealth, as it were. So I'm glad about today's conversation. Pastor Julian was with us last week, and he's going to be joining us in a short while. We want to ask you all to invite your friends, let them know we are on. We have started host a watch party and invite some of your friends to be part of this. But let's do this together. I think financial literacy is important at a time like this. Looking forward to our conversations together. So right now I want to invite my guests who are here together with us. I want to start with the ladies first, Gladys Juma. So Gladys Juma is a friend of mine. We've known each other for a while. She has written 2 books now on personal finances and the principles of finance. She's an author. She's a personal finance coach. She's a speaker. She's a trainer. She's a mother and more. So we're glad to have you again, Gladys. Maybe you can say hi to us. I hope you had a good week.
Oh, thank you very much, Pastor S. Yes, I had an amazing week, and I'm super excited to be back for Sober Sunday, and I look forward to a wonderful time with you speakers and the listeners.
Great, thank you very much. And we are glad to be joined by Mr. Leonard Sharrow. A little far out of town today, but together with us is the amazing thing about technology. It doesn't matter where we are at, we can get together. He's a founder of Savo City, mentor to many in terms of investments and finance. You can tell us more, but Mr. Leonard, we're glad to have you here today.
Wonderful. It's a great honor to be here, speaking to you from Tighter Hills today. I had a church today that when we can't be in church, we need to be church. So it's wonderful that wherever we are, we can have this meeting. With others that I'd have had to call and say, you know what, I'm somewhere where I cannot come. But with technology, we can meet anywhere. So thank you, Pastor S. And Gladys, a pleasure as always.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen and lady. We're glad to have this conversation. Again, welcome to all of you who have joined us. Just remember, this is hosted by Transform Nations, and we have different programs. If you look on our Transform Nations page, you will find different programs that we do. So feel free to interact with those who are on the page. Ask any questions about Man Enough, which is going on already. or about Ezra and any of our other programs. But let's begin, Gladys, by just saying, you know, from the scripture that we have read about the place of wisdom and financial management, and how wisdom is supreme. You know, without wisdom, riches will come and go. Wisdom is even more important than gold. Reminds me of the King Solomon in the Bible. And you know, he was a young man about to get into leadership, and he was asked by God, ask me whatever you will. And he asked for wisdom to understand what choices to make and how to lead God's people. Maybe your comment on that, as you saw, tell us a few lessons you've learned in your journey of financial management.
Okay, thank you, Pastor S, for that. And the scripture is so spot on and a wonderful way for us to begin part 2 of this discussion. That is true also when it comes to money. Yes, money is depends how well money works for you depends on how well you use it. It's not how much you have, but how you use the much or the little that you have. Because Pastor S, I'm sure you've come across people who earn little and little relatively, yeah. And these are people who've really done a lot, you know, in terms of investments. You know, here and there, they have maybe a plot somewhere, have constructed a house up country. You know, the children go to a decent school, versus a person who earns a lot of money and they've got nothing to show, really.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to money, like I said, it's not how much, it's just how well you utilize the resources that you've got, Pastor S. And for me, when it comes to money and how I've dealt with the topic, or at a personal level, it came with time. In fact, one of the things that I say, or a small regret that I have, is that I wish I had the knowledge that I have now when I started off. I got my first job at age 23, you know, straight out of campus. If I knew that, I'd have started saving for retirement back then. I'd have started buying shares, you know, the ones that were really priced low. And a few years on, they were, you know, blue chips. They were the ones, you know, driving the securities exchange. Yes. But wisdom is can be acquired, you know, through learning and through tagging along people who've been there, done that, you know, the mentors, coaches, etc. But the greatest wisdom really comes from God. So Solomon, I must say, he was wise even before he was bestowed with all the wisdom that he asked for God. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Leonard. You started from a lean place, you have grown. We could say by any standard, you're wealthy now. What are some of the lessons on wisdom that you have learned in your journey of towards financial freedom?
Wow, that's a wisdom. Solomon says wisdom is the principal thing. I think sell all you have and get wisdom, because man without wisdom, he says, is like what? Is like jewelry on a pig or something like that. Yeah. So what I've learned over time is, if you have understanding, if you have knowledge on a subject, then capital becomes less important. All you need is that understanding, is that knowledge, is understanding, knowing the do's and the don'ts, is to quote Gladys's first statement, I think of last week, or her opening statements, was the habits. Once you have understood that I need to inculcate in myself the right habits that are not depending on willpower, but I'm depending on habits, things that come naturally, and I've learned the right habits, then you are able to push and do all manner of things. I find this amazing that this Zoom has replaced the transport system. Yeah, the mobile phone has replaced the office, the post office, it has replaced the bank and all those things. That comes by wisdom. And Solomon says, to hide a matter is the glory of God, but to search out a matter is the glory of kings. So, and I think you cannot search out a matter without wisdom. And I'm hoping and praying that even in today's session, that we will all be challenged to search out a matter, to know how can I be financially independent when I'm earning a lot and spending a lot? How can I be financially independent when I'm earning little and it's never enough? How can I be financially independent when my spouse is a spendthrift? And but I think we have been given the power and the capacity to search out matters. I mean, we can fly, we can talk face to face, and we are not near each other. That is wisdom.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to a lot of those wisdom nuggets. Again, those of you watching us live, please ask any questions. We're going to be taking a few of your questions and reading out some of your comments. Would love to answer you today. And again, Pastor Julian is going to be joining us shortly. And so would love to hear from you. And again, invite you to host watch parties and let's learn together. You know, the thing about wisdom is you don't have to have it. I mean, for you to have it, your friend doesn't have to be a fool. We can all be wise. I think we can all make wealth. You know, there's enough wealth for everyone. We just need wisdom. So don't feel like you don't need to invite your friend. They're going to cause competition. I think God wants all of us to be wise and to make wealth because there's enough wealth to go around. We can create it. We're not trying to fight over some limited finances or wealth that is available. We all want to grow together. But let me ask you, Gladys, just to speak to those who are going through lack of jobs right now. They lost their jobs, they're beginning to eat into their savings, and they're wondering what to do, or their income is pretty reduced. What are some of the things that you would advise them to do as a trainer?
Okay, thank you again, Pastor S. First is to have the right mindset. Yeah, just to quickly recap on 3 things I said last time, to make sure that they begin by accepting the situation, you know, so that they don't blame their employers, they don't blame the economy, they don't blame the disease. Nobody asked for corona, you know. So it's with us, and we've got to deal with it. In fact, it said that it's going to go on for a lengthy time. So it's just for us to adopt. Next is to be able to share your situation with the people that matter. You know, your children, your spouse, the people you owe you owe money. You know, for them to be able to understand.
Have we just lost Gladys?
Yeah, it looks like we are losing Gladys. I know she said she doesn't have power today. She's trying to survive without power. But maybe as we wait for her to come back, Leonard, we can jump into your story. We're talking about, all right, Gladys is back. Sorry, we lost you at some point. So yeah, you can continue. Just go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So once you have the right mindset, everything else would fall in place, because in that way you're calmer. Yeah, you're able to think straight. You know, when you don't blame anybody, you take charge, right? So after that, check your current position. How much do you have? You know, what are your assets, or what do you own? Yeah. How much income is coming in? And this now would be for people still earning a little income. Yeah, now we're assuming that you've not lost your job, or even if you've lost your job, maybe you've got other sources of income. So what income is coming in? What do you owe? Yeah, whom you know, your bankers, your relatives, etc. And how much is this amount that you're talking about? Yeah, where does your money go? So first check your financial status, because that's your starting point. Yes. And then now, number 2, I'd advise that you redo your budget. Revise your budget to be able to fit the situation, right? So that if you've had a pay cut, reduce accordingly. I mean, your income level, adjust the expenses.
Mhm.
Remember last time we said that you should be able to budget before the income comes in. Otherwise, the money will come in and Leonard will give you a plan and you're going to use all the money. Yeah. But you see, if you've already planned, and particularly make use of ratios. Yeah. The other time I introduced a common one, the 50-30-20 framework, where 50% of your income would go towards your necessities, 30% towards your savings, and 20% towards the nice to have things, right? So when you have ratios, even in periods of less incomes, at least the categories don't all suffer. You'll still have a little portion to put aside for the rainy day, even as you survive, right? So in that case, redo your budget. And what will happen is that you may have to do away with the ones, the nice to have stuff, so that now you're focusing on the necessities. And now begin interrogating these necessities. Yeah, when food is one of them. But even in the category of food, do you have to do cereals, for example, every morning? Yeah. What about, buying flour and making mandazis? Interrogate even the necessities. Where you live, if it's a rental property, is it time that you should move to a cheaper house? Yeah. Transport. Would you consider maybe parking your car and pooling with your neighbors, maybe if you're headed towards the same direction? So if
Yeah.
even for the necessities, it will be the time to interrogate whether you need all of those. Yeah. So redo your budget and make sure that you're okay with the discomfort. Yeah, because at this time, when you have when your salary is reduced, or your income, for the case of business people, you cannot continue living normally,
Yeah.
right? It's not the time to go quickly and liquidate your investments that had been set aside for other purposes, for you to be able to finance, all your needs. You
Yeah.
need to really cut back, Pastor S. And
Yeah.
then for the debts, you begin by speaking to the people you owe. Don't ignore those phone calls, dear listeners. Be proactive. Tell them what you're going through. Come up with a payment plan, and make sure that the payment plan is one that you'll be able to honor, right? And then look at the things that you own. Yeah. Last time I mentioned that some of these ones would need to be sold to be able to meet some pressing needs. Yes. And on the loans, sometimes you may need to talk to your banker, for them to consider giving you a moratorium. But even then, when you get a moratorium, remember you're deferring a problem. So don't ask for it if you can afford to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do it right away. So find ways to increase your income, because again, cutting costs can only be done so far. They are fixed costs that you can't do without. Yeah, you can squeeze as much as possible out of your expenses, but you can only go so far. So what other ways could you earn extra income so as to
Yeah,
to,
and,
to
and maybe we'll come back to the extra ways that you can earn income. And I
okay.
like just the foundation you're laying, that you can only reduce your costs, so far. And then you need to look for other ways to say, okay, how do I up my income as I reduce my costs? But that's a major principle. So thank you. Let me get back to you shortly. Stacy, we're glad that you tuned in. Judy Malu as well. You're writing those ratios there. There are questions already beginning to come in. Billionaire Brian Mashari, I can see your.
That's my guy.
Oh, that's your guy. He has a question for you, but we're going to come back to it. Yeah, someone is asking for Gladys Juma's contact, and I'm sure it's going to be put up. Welcome, Pastor Julian. We were looking forward to having you.
I'm so sorry. Please, pardon me. My other seminar took a little bit longer at the end. I'm so sorry.
No problem. We give apologies to those who are waiting for you, and we're glad that you're back.
Yeah.
So did you have a good week?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I was
Okay.
able to follow. Actually, I've been trying to get on. I don't know why I couldn't join you guys. It kept keeping me in your beautiful lounge.
I am sorry about that. I am sorry. We'll give you a
No,
minute
I was late.
to breathe, but we'll come back to you and we'll ask you.
Okay.
The first question is just about your the verse I read on wisdom and some of the ways
Sure.
that in your journey of building wealth has been wisdom you can pass on to others. But let me
Sure.
come to Leonard and ask you, Leonard. I think last week we said you're building, these low-cost housing. I think the 1-bedroom and studios, and you can mention that. And you did not start this journey a long time ago. You've been working for the last 15 or so years. You will tell us exact time. What has really worked for you to build up from where you are to now? Just two key lessons that you have learned or wisdom points that have enabled you to come from where you were struggling not long ago to a place where you're dealing with billions, if not hundreds of millions, with investments.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the first thing is around habits. I mentioned habits again. Let me repeat that. Habits are all encompassing. I think they're everywhere. People rely too much on willpower, but willpower can only get you started. It cannot sustain you. You need to think about investing and wealth building as a long-term journey, and you have to make it habitual. Now, the thing about habits, or the good habits that are good for financial success, they're surprisingly easy to do, but tragically, they're easy not to do. I think that's the thing people need to realize. Extremely easy to do, but also extremely not easy to do. So it's very easy to fall on either side of the coin. Yeah. But some of the things that I have learned along the way that have helped me is rewiring the mind. Because our mind is set by our bringing, our schooling, all those things. And we need to rewire it. Now, there's a simple equation I learned that marketers all over the world know. There is always, in anything in life, there's always a trigger. Yeah. That trigger always leads to a routine. And we follow the routine because we're looking for a certain reward. So trigger, routine, reward, right? Now, psychologists know that it's difficult to change the trigger because they're all around us. And it is difficult or impossible to change the reward that we want. But we can change the routine, and that's enough. So let me give an example. When you are a child, you receive money. Yeah, you do something nice, then your parents give you a shilling or two. In our days, a shilling was enough. Immediately you receive the shilling, that's the trigger, the receiving of money. You run to the shop to buy sweets. And sweets, well, they make you feel nice. They give you so much joy. So you grow up, you go to high school, you receive pocket money, makes you run to the canteen. For the men, we buy bread. Gladys, I don't know what the women bought, but the boys just bought bread. And the bread gives us trigger. Then you grow up, you get a salary. The salary, kidogo, you've gone to pay mwili shukrani, isn't it? Yeah, you've gone to the malls, you've bought shoes, you've bought, so that you're able to get a reward. But you realize that if you're able to rewire your mind, which is easy to do, that instead of I receive money, I spend money, I am happy, we can rewire that to I receive money, I invest money, and I'm happy. And I'm talking before the rewards of the investments, before the returns. The act of investing in and of itself gives you joy. So I think for me that has been probably the biggest lesson I have learned. Just how to rewire your mind, because then I'm not delaying gratification. Then I'm not denying myself. I'm actually doing something that I really enjoy. Why? I just rewired. I get pleasure from investing. The beauty of investing is it's a gift that keeps on giving. Another one, very quickly, I would like to introduce maybe guys to, for those who have not started. I think last week you said, what if I've not started? Yeah. I would like to introduce you to two simple principles that I always encourage people to do. Number one is the 1% rule. Let's assume you don't save at all. You don't save, you don't invest, right? If you can survive on 100% of your income, surely you can survive on 99%. Just 1% per month. So save 1% this month. Next month, save 2%. The month 3, save 3%. Keep adding that, just 1% at a time. I remember I was in Starehe, and Griffin was an addict of cigarettes, and they gave him a patch. So day one, he got his full dose of nicotine. The second day, he got 99% of it. The third day, he got 98% of it, and that way he was weaned. Same thing with savings. If you keep doing that for 2 years, you'll be saving 25% of your earnings. Now we have come into classes. This is ratios. Yeah, you're doing 25% within a simple 2 years. That's number one. Number two, very quickly, the wage principle. It's been proved that needs increase at the rate of income. So when your income increases, somehow your needs seem to find a way of increasing. But what if you drove a wedge between your income and your expenditure, and say, you know what, Pastor Oscar, when I was in school, Pastor Oscar Muriu introduced me to the ceiling of spending. What if I said, this lifestyle is good enough for me? If I earn more, I will use that extra amount for investments. So you've sort of driven a wedge. So you're doing the 1% rule on one side, you're using the wedge principle on the other side. You have no option but to grow your wealth.
Yeah.
So I think I'll stop at that now. I'll add a few more later.
Well, thank you. And there's someone asking whether your Gong Road apartments are still available, and I'm sure they are, right?
Oh yes, they're still available. If you would allow me, if you can just go to invest@savo.ke, that's the email address, invest@savo.ke, or if I can give you a number, 0768 187 154. That's 0768 187 154. Talk to Sally, and Sally will sort you out. And savo.ke obviously is available.
Yeah, and for those of you on Transform Nations page, you have actually put up the contacts, so feel free to look up those contacts. And we're going to come back to you at some point, and you will tell us how much they go for. All right, Julian, let me ask you. It's been a journey for you. You were in the US for a while, came back, started afresh. I've built, a huge empire of businesses in several countries. What have you learned? What has helped you in building the wealth that you manage right now? What are basic principles of success?
Thank you, Pastor Simon. Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. Quite frankly, business in Kenya is tough, and it's a good place to learn. I think everyone must think about how they desire to scale, or how they want to scale from here. So I know the first business I built, I think I did that one in 3 countries. It was Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, and then Zambia opened up. Then my second company that started 15 years ago, 2010, so it's not 15, 10 years ago. That one we built to about 28 countries. So Mode went to 28 countries. We were able to get offices out even to Indonesia, to Myanmar. I remember going to Myanmar as a bit of a tourist attraction. And we were able to scale. And therefore I learned quite a lot around partnerships, covenants, how to build different cultures. We were in India. So besides Africa, even within Africa, there were amazing complexities. But this one, I know you cannot scale without partnerships. And I've learned that lesson through life. And so there's this analogy that we have that people think that if I share what I have, I will deplete, and then there's this thing about ideas. Everybody thinks that, I don't want to give anyone my idea because they're going to steal it. And I always tell people there's nothing I can volunteer my ideas on a table and share them, because the problem is not on ideas. In fact, the Bible says that the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. The day you have that idea, someone in about another 1,000 people in China had it the same night, and maybe 1 million in India the same night. The problem is not the idea. The question is on the execution, and just having that right passion, that pain point on execution. It's not easy. It's not easy to build. That's why I get amazed when I see people trying to become entrepreneurs part-time. I don't believe you can make it that way. Number two, I don't believe everybody can be an entrepreneur, but people can partner with good entrepreneurs to make things happen. So it's been an amazing journey these years, and getting my feet strong now on that real estate piece, and also still on my fintech thinking, and most importantly for me on kingdom. Everything I do is driven by a kingdom mindset around how to raise kingdom champions. That's my passion, whether in the marketplace. Well, there's no other place in the marketplace, and being able to change our thinking a little bit in the church setting to be more discipleship minded around what our people go through from Monday to Friday before they come to settle in church on Sunday. So the practicability of moving from the theory to the practical, and being able to bring up people to make that happen across the continent. That's my passion, and that's why we do what we do.
Okay. Maybe before we leave you, Ken Odhiambo has a question for you. How do you balance between running church and business? And what can you say about the challenges facing the believers today on money matters?
First, I get that question a lot. You know, how do you balance? Are you doing too many things? I believe in one thing. I raise people. I mean, in every business, I've basically learned from the best CEO. I was once interviewed by a magazine, and it's a popular magazine, and they asked me, so who's your biggest inspiration? So I told them Jesus Christ. They said, as a CEO. I said, Jesus Christ. He said, he was not a CEO. I said, oh, do you want to debate that? And then they said, okay, who is alive that you can say today is your biggest inspiration? You want to guess what my answer was? It's Jesus Christ. And the secret was, in 3 years, Jesus worked himself out of a job in 3 years. And one thing I believe in is people, you will be shocked the kind of assets you can raise if you take time not to focus too much on micromanagement. You manage, you build, but self-doubt and poor judgment are companions. So you just move to the place where you can start trusting that others can deliver. So I invest in people. Even at the church right now, I have an amazing team that's running the day-to-day. I spend more time in prayer. I'm able to spend more time in direction and leadership, and not necessarily on the nitty-gritties but I'm still able to go visit a sick person or a family that needs me to visit them. But I have an amazing team. On the business side, the same thing. So I practically work on working myself out of a job as quickly as I can once the basics and the foundations are set. On the part around speaking to believers on money matters, my view is we have some way to go, but I think we've started the journey. I'm actually looking at the journey 15 years ago from when I got very involved, 20 years ago from when I got very involved in ministerial teaching and everything. And before that, there were people doing it before us. I think believers are waking up. I think the new generation that is taking over the baton from the fathers, there are fathers who are saying, we think we can leave this thing in the hands of these people. So they're starting to see Joshuas that are capable, not that they're pushing Joshuas out, but they're starting to see Joshuas popping up. Because times have changed, things have changed. Now, we're not chasing our spiritual fathers away. I'm just saying from a believer perspective, I'm seeing people in the church that are starting to shine across the world in the kingdom. And God is doing his own thing. God is doing an amazing thing. You're hearing people that you never thought could get saved are getting saved in their 70s and starting to speak about the gospel. You're seeing a rising across the earth of a new way of doing things. There's a change, there's a shift. So I say, on money matters, we'll get there. We're going to spend more time on discipleship. because it's what the next dimension needs: more teaching, more discipleship. The preaching is good. We're going to continue preaching the gospel, but discipleship and mentorship, and I'm seeing it starting to happen. Look at you, Pastor S. Look at what you've done for so many men. So I'm thinking, and look at Leonard. Look at what he's building. Gladys is here, at least just churning out books. This is the next kingdom face. This is it. I mean, this is it. So you can only imagine it's going to be from glory to glory and from faith to faith. So we need to also be patient with the systems. It's like someone was asking me about Kenya, and I hope we'll get to talk about that. I don't want to hog the space too much, but when we get to talk about Kenya, you can't rush a process. We probably have another 20 years of some basic things that have to happen before we really start to see what we want to see, but we need to set the foundations now.
Well, thank you very much. When we come back to you, you'll talk about the Kenya idea issue and challenges that are faced, but also would love to hear how you've worked together, with your wife. Sometimes money has challenges when it comes to partnerships with our wives. And I know your family and you've really worked together. I think there are many people who would want to hear that. But let's come to you, Gladys, and now we can hear from you some ways of making money during the season. Those who don't have a job, or they have reduced income, or they intend to get more income, there's some opportunities for making more money.
Yeah, sure. Thank you again, Pastor S. Yes, so they can begin by selling what they don't need. That's one idea. Look at the items that you hold. What can you do without? What can you be able to sell and get some money? Last time, I spoke about a friend of mine who I got to sell her baby stuff. She had all those things, the prams, the what. Yeah, so, taking up space for nothing. And, she was able to make a good amount out of things that she just put away. So for you, what are you holding that you don't need? Number one. Number two, what skills do you have? Yes. Can you teach? What's your educational background? Can you be paid for services that you offer? Can you bake? Can you knit? Can you draw? Can you coach? Can you teach? Yeah. There's we all have skills and talents. So particularly at a time like this where movement has been curtailed, we all are supposed to introspect and think about what it is that we can put out to the marketplace and be able to generate some income out of that. Then what resources do you have that you're not making use of? And when I speak about resources, I not only mean assets or things, but even the people that you know. Do people know that you're going through these tough times? Who can you speak with for them to give you a job, part-time or full-time, right? And speaking of assets, do you have a car that's parked outside and not using it for a whole day? Can you use it for for Uber services? Yes. Do you have a vacant garage? So that maybe you can modify it and use it, let it out or something, or an extra room that maybe you're using for storage. Yeah, that you can be able to earn some income out of letting it out. Then for people with jobs or even a business, what about considering an additional hustle? What ideas do you have in your mind that you haven't utilized? Yeah. What is it else? Who do you know that you can tell, or whose help do you need? Maybe be it for capital, money, that is, for expertise, partnership. Yes. There are many ideas out there. Simon, those are the ones I can think at top of my head.
So it's more like answering the question that Moses was asked: what is in your hand? Because it could be networks, it could be skills, it could be opportunities, but what is in your hands? Open your eyes to see what is around you. All right, Leonard, someone is asking you, I think Joe Gashira is asking, how have you built such huge investment debt-free? What is the secret? But as you do that, let me just read out what Evelyn Nyasende is saying. I've realized you can do anything provided you put time and effort. I started Chama with some ladies helped me, which some ladies helped me build 5 3-bedroom houses in Kenya, and has helped me get passive income even when I reside in diaspora. The investment helped me to add my income too, and to add more investments. But yeah, maybe to Joe Gashira, you can answer. How have you built this? Just some of the ways. But also tell us about the houses and what they go for, so that those who would like to buy can also know. Go ahead.
All right. To answer that question of how we're able to build this, maybe someone might expect tactics, but I think tactics are very individualized. Everybody has their own tactics. It might be better to focus on the principles. You know, the principles, I think, are what matters. Those are unmoving. They are, you know, they're like the sun in the solar system. They are moving as the rest of the things move. And some of these things I've done, there are some 4 questions I ask myself all the time. And it has helped us even in building this business. Number 1, does the world need it? The thing that you want to do, the thing that you want to build, the product that you want to develop, does the world need it? Yeah. Now, the consumer mentality focuses on my needs. I want the instant gratification for me. The investor mentality focuses on the needs, wants, and desires of God's other children. There's a gentleman called Daniel Lapin, a Jewish rabbi. He wrote a book called Business Secrets from the Bible, an amazing book. And I'll challenge someone to read it and say the Jews are successful everywhere they go. I mean, just check, even the technology we're using now, I don't know who made it, but I can tell you there's a Jewish thing somewhere inside it. And the Jews, their number 1 secret is focus on the needs, wants, and desires of God's other children. Once you have that, then everything changes. So question number 1, does the world need it? Yeah. Question number 2, could I be the best in the world at it? Not am I the best? It's a realm of possibility. Am I naturally encoded for this kind of thing? I always say if Michael Jackson was a boxer and Michael Jordan was a singer and Michael Tyson was a race car driver and Michael Schumacher was, you know, they're all Michaels, but each one of them had their own place. So if your fish swim, your monkey climb trees. Yeah. So could you be the best at it? And as Pastor Julian just said, you cannot be an entrepreneur part-time. You need your 10,000 hours. You need to devote time. So once you know, there's this guy like Yego. Yego understood that Kenya does not have a history of javelin. He's from the Rift Valley, but he's not tall. He's not lean. He's a big guy. But he felt I could throw this thing better than anyone I know. And I mean, the guy became world champion, Olympic silver medal. Why? He understood I could be the best in the world at this. Number 3, do you understand your profit engine? Do you understand the thing you need to do to make money? What makes you make money? Like Pastor Julian, I'm in Shags right now. I'll be here for 2 months. And the business.
We're losing Cheryl. The Shags seem to be pulling him away from us. Mr. Leonard, are you there? Okay, I think as we wait for him to come back, we can come to you, Julian, to answer the 2 questions about working together with your wife in terms of family involvement in business, but also I think you are to answer on some of the ways that some of the lessons you have learned in doing business in Kenya.
Yeah, I mean, I love the place Leonard was going. As soon as he said he's in Shags, the network decided to let us know he's in Shags. But I know I'm sure he'll join us in a few minutes.
Yeah.
There are, look, this is a this country can give you a PhD in business, but I'll tell you, if you can succeed in Kenya, you can probably succeed in very many countries in the world. Now, that's not to put down our nation completely. We have some amazing pluses, but we do have a very, it's a nation that can give you the opportunity, but at the same time, when you start to succeed, you start to get a lot of wrong attention. I think we have a nation that really needs to review its policies on different types of businesses. I think we have a nation that needs to look into keeping good entrepreneurs here, because a business by its nature is self-preserving. So Simon, if I find out that my business can do better in Canada, my business will call me there and I'll relocate. Okay, if I'm an entrepreneur, if I find out that Singapore is going to treat my business that's in 5 countries better than what Kenya is doing. So we need to understand we're no longer, from a business perspective, we're no longer competing from a Kenya county to county perspective only. We have global thought patterns, and I'll tell you this from a person who has built a business in 28 countries. I've been frustrated by my country. Kenya was only 2% of our business, but I kept most of my teams here. I kept a lot of, but although the executives were not in the country for our tax, the way we were looking at our tax and the way we're doing a lot of things. So I kept most of the teams here, but when our company got bought out, there's nothing the government or the country did to try and keep the work here. Jobs, all that stuff. You find that I'm being harassed for taxes in the business, in church. It's very frustrating. I'll be very frank with you. We must have honest conversations. If we're going to build innovative solutions for the next generation, if our nations are going to become the facilitators for the prowess required for business, I must tell you, keeping talent here that is entrepreneurial driven is very hard. As much as the money comes chasing them, I promise you most of those businesses will register in Mauritius or register in Singapore or register in Dubai, as much as you may see a few people here in the country. So what we have to do is become innovative around our structure. Number 2, it's frustrating because you work that hard and you're seeing others doing funny things. Nobody's chasing them down. So I've realized that one of the instructions God gave Joshua is to be bold and strong. You asked me one of the things believers need to do. I think believers who are going to be entrepreneurs, which is a very strange place for me because I happen to be a man of the cloth, is to be controversial. But Jesus was. I find we're too careful with our reputation. That if some of you heard that Julian has been sued, all of a sudden, people will leave my church because I've been sued. But it is a part of business. It is a part of business. It is a part. I'm not saying you just go out there and get sued, but it is possible that you will fall into some pits in business. It is possible you will make some mistakes. It's possible you may lose some money. And therefore, it's possible that there's nothing you did, that you just, in Nigeria, for instance, I was taken to court almost 12 times, our company was, because people kept saying that this was their idea. Even those who are coming up with it yesterday would go to court tomorrow. And, people have this patent issues in Africa with tech. So you can't be soft rubber. This thing is not for the weak-hearted. And that's why, as I like the trail of thought where Leonard was going. I'd love for him to finish the whole element. And I know I've not answered you about with my wife. The whole element about the nation for me is key because it's a foundational problem. I foresee a lot of businesses lost to Kenya. If you knew how many businesses have left because of this issue, I'm telling you, you would be shocked. If you knew how many are preparing to leave, it would even shock you more. So we must put out a cry and help our governments and help our nation to realize that if Gladys can write her book from Gilgil, if Leonard can run his business from Shugs, we've tried. I'm not saying we haven't tried, but I foresee a danger where we're losing a lot of amazing businesses. I sit on a couple of boards. Out of my 5 boards, 3 are leaving the country. And let me tell you, this thing is more serious than we think. So, in things like real estate, we'll be here, but we may structure differently. Are you understanding? We will try to structure in what makes sense for a business is self-preserving by nature, because it has to survive. It has to think about its own drive. It has to think about its survival. So it will do what it has to do. It will go where funds are supposed to be found. So let's be very clear about some of these things. And when we have some more time, we'll talk about it. But we've got to deal with that elephant in the room because we're losing in that area.
Yeah. I hope some of the policymakers are listening to us and that they will take action on that. And maybe we'll come back shortly to you after we go to Leonard to finish what you were saying, and Gladys for you to talk about the family and involvement with partnerships. I know there are many people who have burnt themselves in the place of partnership, but we're going to come to you, Gladys, to talk to us. There's someone who has asked to you, Gladys, asking you to talk about chamas and some of the ways that small investment groups can begin to grow. But back to you, Leonard, we're glad to have you. You talked about shags and the shags hindered you from speaking to us. So, go ahead, and I was writing the 4 questions you were talking about. So,
fantastic. Had I talked about my apologies?
yeah.
Had I talked about I talked about what I could be best at and my team, right? I hope.
You are on the 3rd one now. You had finished.
My profit engine is my team.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
To learn from Jesus to just build the team. I like the way Pastor Julian put it. 3 years he got himself out of a job. If you read the book of Mark, it was so easy for him to deal with the big things, the diseases, demons, the nature, the weather, all those things he could sort out. But the people were such a headache. But he trusted them to the very end. I mean, until the very end, when they're cutting off people's ears and what have you, he still left this whole thing to the same guys. Yeah. So I believe in giving my people absolute authority. Pastor S, you've dealt with us, and and it has its ups and downs, but I still believe it is still a much better choice. So I am fussy about who I hang around with. I am fussy about who we employ. It now takes a year to get employed at Savo. You go through a 1-year fellowship because we realize we call it Savonization. The indoctrination just takes that long before we can say you belong with us. So that's our profit engine. And you must understand what your profit engine is. I didn't mention what we could be best at. For us, enabling people achieve financial independence through affordable apartments is, I don't believe anyone can provide, and I'm saying this with all humility, I don't think anybody has understood our tenant, that segment, as much as we have strived to do. So we think we can be really good at giving the Kenyan market that specific thing. Yeah. Finally, it's passion. You need this thing that you can wake up and do every single day. I mean, Shags, because I'm doing part of that. Making a positive impact in other people's lives. That's what I live for. Whether it is in my philanthropy, whether it is coming here and sort of fulfilling a legacy that my father started. Yeah, my father gave some property to a church. They could not be able to build and finish. So I've just come to sort of finish that. And so making that impact in people's lives day in, day out. If you get something that you are like that, and for us at Savo, I like it because we have intertwined the philanthropy into the business model. And it's not that the rest of the company makes the money, then Mcharo gives it away. No. As long as you're involved in making it, you're also part of, because if I can school 50 children, why don't I just distribute the children? Every person schools 2. Then we have more mentorship, we have more follow-up. Then I don't have to have the headache of following up on 50 kids. Everybody's able to do that. So best in the world at it? Does the world need it? Do I understand the profit engine? Am I passionate about it? That's how we build that's how we've been able to build the business debt free. Yeah, in a nutshell.
And you said there are studios and 1-bedrooms. That's what you focus on.
Yeah, we have studios and 1-bedrooms. What we have right now is on Offengong Road. The studios go for 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
The 1-bedrooms go for, we have two types of 2.5 and 3 million. And the rent you can expect from the studio is 15K conservatively. The smaller 1-bedrooms we have put at 19. The larger ones we have put at 23 to 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
And someone can put in a deposit and be paying every month for five years.
Exactly. If you just talk about the studio, the deposit is 400K, which you can do even in 2 installments of 200, and then you can take 5 years. The monthly plan, I think, is 27,000 shillings per month for the studio. Yeah, so I think quite affordable. We always say that's Friday night money for most young people. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Coming to you, Gladys, tell us something about chamas and small investment groups and some ways that they can work to grow the money, the investment, and we'll come back to Julian.
Okay, thanks, Pastor S. Chamas, if I may start by saying this, have really grown many people. Really, a couple of people coming together and I must add, a team with shared vision. Because with chamas, what happens is that people pool funds, and then together they're able to achieve an objective. So first they must have a shared vision. Pastor S, I'm seeing you're taking notes, so that's a substantive point. So the chama members need to ask themselves, why did you come together? Is it for you to be able to invest together? Is it a social group? Because there are people who come together, but for purposes of merry-go-round, for example, where they rotate in terms of they contribute a certain amount of money. When it's your turn, you take the money for a particular reason. There are people who come up together because they want to visit parents. They want to buy household items, particularly the women. So never lose sight of why you came together. Shared vision, because that's what will propel the chama and see it through for a longer period. Then structure. For a chama to work well, it must have structure. Does your chama have a constitution? Do you know what it would take for an additional member to join or to even exit? What's the minimum contribution? What would cause the members to expel another? A constitution that covers all areas that governs your operations. Do you have other important documents like the next of kin? We have chamas where if anything happened to a chama member and those people are not trustworthy or good friends or good members, they could easily, share out your money and, as opposed to passing it on to the family, in case anything happened to you as a chama member. And then for the leadership, do the leaders rotate? A lot of the chama roles are pro bono. I'm yet to come across a chama where when you're chairman, you're paid, or when you're secretary for doing really nice, neat minutes, you're paid. Yeah, it's pro bono. So for me, I believe some sort of rotation should happen. First, for all members to appreciate the work that goes on behind the scenes. Yes, and also to just allow other people to rest, just sharing the work that's involved. And then another thing that I'm seeing that's useful is the use of committees. Some chamas are made up of, so many members, beyond 20, which for me, anything above 20, even for my own small classes, those are many people. Committees really work well. When you can have a finance committee, finance and investment committee that puts their heads together and decides on behalf of the chama whatever investments would work, based on their goals. And then another one perhaps for CSR, yeah. And what the small committees do is shared with a larger group, maybe during the meetings, monthly, quarterly, whatever. And then I mentioned goals, but number 3, let it be a point on its own. Goals, very, very important. You really must know where it is that you're going. Yeah, we've seen border riders someplace in Kitengela that contributed. I don't know whether it was 100 bob. Let me not quote that, but it was a small amount. But because of their numbers, they were able to buy a piece of land and construct houses for themselves. Yes,
Yeah.
or women, Nachama, an all group, an all ladies group in Muranga, where they came up with flats, and now they're able to generate income for themselves. So for me, I talk about shared vision, Pastor S, structure, and structure all this documentation that is necessary. That if you can, where you can even have a lawyer maybe run through some of these documents to just make them as formal as possible, and then also goals. Very, very important.
Okay, thank you. Someone is asking the title of your books. One more time, you could just mention them. And in case you like any of the books, feel free to type out on the pages. I think we have some people who will give you the details. Gladys.
Okay. My first book is Managing Your Finances God's Way, a 10-step personal finance manual. So Managing Your Finances God's Way comes with a workbook, and they're available in just about every bookshop. Keswick, I just restocked the textbook center, name it, yeah. But you can also order from my website, and then there's also Smart Money Habits, yeah, five habits that you all must know. Pastor S was short of telling them, but I think they need to get the books. Yeah, all very affordable. And once you pay, they'll be delivered at your doorstep. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Julian, before we now do a last round of final comments, unfortunately time just flies. A few questions for you. Someone is asking about government bonds and whether they make sense in this economy during this season. Someone is also asking about the difference between a business plan and a business model, and how more businesses can survive the 5th birthday. Then there's research that shows most of them die before their 5th birthday. And lastly, someone else is asking how you can make the right choice of business for yourself. And any other comments on just wisdom for business as you give your last presentation? Yeah.
Sure. I mean, so one of the passions I have, and kicked off almost 5 years ago, was to put together something that would put 5,000 people in homes. It was what I felt would be my contribution to my nation, putting 5,000 minimum in homes. At that time, there was no, big four agenda. There was no, the laws on housing were still very old, but when you begin, and that's why I like something that both Gladys and Leonard have touched on, that word passion comes from the root word maxo. Maxo, meaning it is like you're in the pain of somebody. You cannot resolve a problem. If any of us who's listening tonight, your aim is to be a millionaire and a billionaire, you're in the wrong forum. Because if that's what drives anyone, already you're starting from a wrong place, because that's part of our problem in this nation, Simon. If I was to ever become president, I'd return tenders to the military, completely remove tenders from the public domain, because I don't know what has happened to our country and tenders. We've all gone crazy. And I don't mean that it just seems to be a quick, people watch our leaders and assume if I can become a leader, I can become wealthy quickly. So it's never about service. It's never about passion. It's never about the other person. It's driven by a thing that, where we are very, flattery is a snare. People pump you up with all this leadership stuff. And when you finally get there, you don't serve the people. So I think for me, the key elements of what has just been asked, even about a business lasting 5 years, I believe that's part of the test of entrepreneurship. I always tell people, if I find you've been able to go more than 5 years, then I think you're starting to pass the test of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's not meant for, and I don't mean this in a bad way. There are people like Mark Zuckerberg, people who want to be that rich and that wealthy, that young. He didn't necessarily set out to be wealthy. He was solving a problem. So solve a problem, be passionate about it. Sometimes things happen in the third and fourth and fifth year, not necessarily the first 2 years. So if you can survive and plan that way, one of the things I see killing a lot of businesses is relatives. When you feel you also want to employ your entire relative chain, you want to solve a family dilemma by making sure no cousin is unemployed, you're getting yourself into a lot of trouble. That's also another very serious trap, because you can't solve that problem. Trust me, I tried. And you still make enemies in their families, even after you've done all you can do to try and solve that. So I'd say on the part of the 5 years, that's where it is. On the bonds, yes, I mean, we're still a safe country for bonds. Look, we're a strong economy. Just to put things in perspective, this is now the strongest economy in the Eastern Africa continent. We're the third strongest economy in Africa. Our bonds are strong. Let's not also, sometimes we're very myopic in that we may put there are things we need to improve without a doubt, but they're gonna take time. This is a ship. You can't turn a ship like a speedboat, and sometimes, young leadership can do that, but you can't turn a big ship like a speedboat. So we've done well for where we are. I think we can do a lot better, right? I give us a 50%, but we can do a lot better. Me included in that ship, but we can still trust our bonds. They're still secured through various means. Those of you who've ever traded in bonds or been able to pick up bonds, they're secured in very different means. So you've got some that you can put insurance wraps around with very strong organizations, and you can make decisions on that. Number two, you can also diversify depending on where you are, to just say, okay, fine, I'll do this on a Kenyan bond and I'll do this on another country's bond, just to be able to separate the two. I think we still have some 10 and 12% bonds. So those are not bad, returns on the Kenya shilling. I don't think you can find a bond of that much of the USD, but on the Kenya shilling, you can find 10 to 12. So yes, I would say they're still valid. They don't go by political issues. They go by a particular theory that undergirds your investment. I'd say check it out, do your research, and make sure that you are making the right call and the right decision. But for now, I know groups, large organizations that are lining up for Kenyan bonds at this time. They're there.
Okay. Business model and business plan?
Business model, business plan. I'm not sure. Maybe Leonard will help me, or Gladys. I'm not sure I understand the difference. What I know is that your modeling comes after you know what you want to do. So you can model different aspects of your business, but what I build in most of my business is an information memorandum that helps me first think through investments, and then at the same time thinking about execution. Execution is the biggest headache that anybody's gonna have, and how to execute. I teach people experiment cheap and fast. Right? Experiment cheap and fast. So in my passion about, housing and tenancy and all those kind of things, I'm definitely keen to see what Leonard and team are doing. I want to see how to think through their model and see what we can do to work together, because it's about thinking through that, because in everything we're doing and what we've decided to do, we're partnering. It's a world of partnerships, and therefore you have to understand that my execution model is based heavily on partnerships that are not parasitic but symbiotic. If they have to be parasitic, it's a symbiotic relationship. You gain, I gain. It's not a one-way lane. I don't believe in those kind of relationships. So I say on a business model, you then decide the detail, the nitty-gritties on the model. A business plan can be very general in the aspect of what you want to do. But I believe the modeling then starts to think through your numbers, your day-to-day execution prowess, your thought pattern around how you will close the deals, your sales cycles. There's a lot that starts to come into a business model, and business models can change, but the plan may not. Although if you choose to pivot an entire business, your entire business plan can shift. So I think the model is the baby of the business plan, but I'm guessing.
No, excellent, excellent.
So,
I agree with you that the plan is a larger overview of where your business is going, but the model is how do you make money? What are the ways that you make money through partnerships or other things? Julian, you can also mention your flats and whether they are available so that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'll mention mine another time, Pastor Simon. I want us to make sure we finish selling Leonard's. I want us to make sure we finish selling Leonard. But there's a question. There's a question that has come. I'll just mention it very quickly. There's a question that has come that says relatives provide a safe haven in terms of trust. Why do African relatives kill businesses while Indians seem to do it better? I will tell you. I mean, when I set up my offices in India, till today, I mean, that Indian family, they all work together as families. It is a question of how long they've done it, how they understand it. There's a loyalty dimension those guys have to whoever has employed them that is unbelievable. And therefore, I think there's no entitlement from the way the Indian groups and Indian families look at business, because for them, it's a generational livelihood. It's a system. And people know if you mess up this system, you're messing up something for generations. So there's a very different thought pattern. It's not a kibarua that you've given somebody and they're just entitled and they say, you know, I was missed it. No, those guys organize this very differently. We are building right near Leonard, and at the same time, so we're breaking ground there in January. So we still have some time, and we're breaking ground at another location that is at a mall, which we'll be announcing in October. And those are the key partnerships we've closed. We've got another property going on in Juja for 2,000 units. Again, very similar price points, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million. We've got to get people in homes. What I'm looking at right now and the proposal sitting on our desk, and why I can't speak too much because I'm bound by a few confidentialities, is the 10-year fund. What we're trying to do is to raise a 10-year fund and bond, a housing bond, private housing bond that will allow people to then pay for 10 years over a 5 million shilling house or a 2 million shilling house, because that means they can easily move from where they're renting straight into ownership. Leonard knows that a tenant purchase is our only answer. There's the way the government's doing it, and we respect that, but we must privatize potential housing bonds. So we've gone ahead, we've signed a deal. We've signed the key documentation around the tenancy. If I can push it to 15 years, even better. You still have the option for 1 year. You'll have the option for 5 years. You'll have the option for 10 years. And then you'll have the option for 15 years if we manage to extend these funders to a 15-year period. And it is there's no interest. I don't believe in interest. I believe as Christians, it's time for us to start moving on Abrahamic covenants. We don't believe in paying interest among brothers and sisters. So it is to raise these communities. That's why when I look at Savo, I say, this is a community. It's a community. How do we get people of like mind and like values to come and let their children live together, and the kind of relationships that come out of there. So we will be releasing details later, but I really want to make sure we finish selling Savo.
All right, I want to welcome everyone to make sure we buy these houses. As I said, I have my unit. I'm praying to be able to acquire a second one and a third one. I'd love to each of my children to have one as what I will pass on to them. But I just want to say we have this book. Last week I mentioned about the 5 commitments of a real man. We have another one here, Dad is Destiny, the difference a father makes. Just a very powerful book. I think we have sold up to almost 100,000 in the last few years. And it's only 500 shillings, very affordable. The power of a father and how he affects all of us, men and women. It's available, and you could find it on our site. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come towards a close, so maybe 2 minutes for each one of you to make just closing remarks as we conclude. Gladys.
Simon, before I make, I even call you Simon this time.
It's okay, that's my name, yeah.
Yeah. Before I make my remarks, had you said that I speak about spouses? I just thought about it later now.
Yeah, you can mention. I'd asked Julian, but I
Okay,
guess it's an
maybe
area
I'll leave it for
we'll
him.
bring it up another time, or you mention as he gives his closing remarks. But if you want to say something as you say your closing remarks, that's okay.
Okay, for spouses that advocate for goal setting together, that as a couple, if they agree as a team, and really they're a team, spouses will become one, agree on goals and work towards it as a team. You know, one of the biggest issues for the married people is that there are secrets within, you know, marriage, where sort of people live separate lives. So it's very important to talk about money. And for you, Pastor S and Pastor Julian, and you know others listening, I think the money topic needs to be given a lot of thought or during the premarital counseling, really, because when people date, they speak about just about everything except money, and we are seeing that money issues are a key reason of divorce and separation now. It surpassed infidelity, which was a leading reason for a very long time. So the money topics need to be discussed, and as a couple, you need to come up with a system. You know, do you deal with certain household needs separately, so that maybe you mentioned that one will take care of groceries and you'll do the rent and maybe the fees, or do you agree on having the money together in one pot, and then everybody has their portion that they take away, where there are no questions asked, you know, in terms of how you spend your money. So it's even agreeing on a system and sticking with it. So maybe those 3 points, and now that it's Pastor Julian's question that I'd stolen, he can build on it when he's making his remarks. So for me, closing remarks is I just ask for everybody to believe in themselves, to work on their money mindset. What stories do you tell yourself when you think of money? Yeah, have the abundance mindset. You know, for you to have, other people do not have to lose. Yeah, let's grow each other. I know Pastor Julian is very passionate about that. Yeah, he speaks about uplifting people a lot. Yeah, and keep reading, keep learning, keep working on the knowledge that you've got. You know, so as to be, you know, a better citizen. Yeah, around, and get people to keep you accountable. One of the things I've learned about matters finance, it's difficult to walk alone, especially if you really want to achieve goals, the audacious goals. You'd need to mention it to somebody for them to be able to walk with you. Yes. So
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you very much, Gladys. We appreciate what you're doing, and we ask people to support what you're doing and to get to learn a lot. Leonard, closing remarks?
Yeah, as a close, so habits, easy to do, easy not to do. Rewire your mind. Remember, trigger, routine, reward. You can always change your routine. What do you invest in? Invest in something that the world needs, that you could be best at, that you understand the profits, the profit engine, and that you're passionate about. Finally, who do you invest with? Don't be in a hurry. Study these people. You can see us now, we can sell a whole project in 3-4 months. But that's not the secret. It took us 3.5 years to develop the business model. That's not it. It took us 22 years to develop the purpose. Just the thinking and saying, why has God sent me here? So we need to have a long-term mindset. So when you're investing with people, just try and see these people. How long have they kept faithful to something they believe in? Yeah. So for me, I believe 22 years, and I'm just beginning to get clarity on the purpose. Yeah. So because for me, the purpose doesn't change. I agree with Pastor Julian. The business model, someone asked about the business model. I would refer you to a book called Running Lean. You can just get it free online. Just Running Lean, and you'll see how to create a business model. He said, experiment cheap and fast. Pastor Julian, the book says, iterate from plan A to a plan that works. Your plan A might not work. In fact, most plan A's never work. Keep iterating, but you need to iterate before you run out of resources. So you must experiment cheap and fast. Thank you very much.
Did you say it's running lean? Running lean?
Lean. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Something you
All
can
right,
just get a PDF of it.
Thank you very much, Leonard. Pastor Julian, before you say your last words and pray for us, let me read the scripture here and again remind to all of you, the books are available. Leonard's Savo floods are available. Let's buy that off. And Gladys books and Transform Nations, the programs are available. We have 3 more days for you to sign up for EZA, the women's program, or Man Enough, so that you become part of this. And also the other programs are available online. And I want to read this verse, and Julian, you can say something on it as you close and pray for us. Proverbs 27, verse 23 to 25. Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds. For riches do not endure forever, and the crown is not secure for all generations. When the hay is removed and new growth appears, and the grass from the hills is gathered in, the lambs will provide you with clothing, and the goats with the price of feed. But I love the way it says, be sure to know the condition of your flocks, but also remember riches don't last forever, so that you don't over depend on money. Money doesn't become your God. Julian.
Pastor Simon, there's a scripture that says, if God cannot entrust you with unrighteous mammon, how will he entrust you with true riches? And these are dimensions in understanding how that means there's a requirement to understand how to handle unrighteous mammon, because there's a place he starts to give you a different category or caliber of responsibility. And I'm a firm believer when Jesus was asked about tithing, which seems to be a very big church question, and I like what Gladys is challenging us. We don't talk about money in church nowadays because all of us preachers are scared of talk about money. You know, money is such a sensitive discussion in churches now, because the moment you open it, but I'm not scared. We have to talk about, because our members are chasing it from Monday to Friday. You know, so we can't sit on Sunday and pretend it's not an issue. And therefore, but the throne of God, it's built on righteousness and justice. That's how that throne is built. And when Jesus was asked about money and tithing in Matthew 23:23, he responded that I don't have a problem with tithing, not in those exact words. He said, you know, you tithe, yes, but there are things that are more important, like justice and mercy. What is love? Love is justice on display. That's one of the ways I describe love. It's justice on display, and you know, and so love is an intolerance to injustice in a sense. So I'm going to close with this story, and I agree. So as if we know the condition of the flock, it's not that we want everybody, you know, tomorrow by now you shall be millionaires. You know, if we preached like that, it was out of naivety of not knowing, because my people perish not for lack of power, for lack of knowledge. My prayer is that we can start to bring sanity into different facets of people's lives. Kwashiorkor is a condition that comes because of malnutrition, not eating balanced diets. We need Gladys in the church. We need Leonard in the church. Our work, Pastor S, by the way, let me now put on a pastoral hat. Our work is not to be everything to all men. You and I are supposed to equip Gladys and Leonard for the works of ministry, to equip the saints to go out there and do things differently. If there's one thing this COVID thing has taught churches, is that we cannot rely on just offering. We've got to rethink the whole strata about how we raise God's people. So let me close with telling you this short story. There's a man who was observing a butterfly coming out of its cocoon. And so it was beginning to hatch from the cocoon. So he was watching it, and for hours he watched it struggle. And at some point it came to a stop. And the man got concerned, said, let me go help it. And just to a point both Gladys and Leonard were making, he pushed it out of the cocoon. And yes, it came out, and he took a pair of scissors, cut very carefully the cocoon, and so it came out in a particular shape. But when it came out, it emerged easily, but it had a swollen body and a small head, and therefore this thing it tried to start pushing out its wings later on, but it couldn't, because somebody helped it, because they saw it was struggling and struggling hard. The moral of that story is, despite the man's kind heart, he didn't understand that there needed to be a struggle in the cocoon, because that is where it actually cuts out some of the elements of its body to be able to then move into the next stage of its life. For there to be a transformation in all of us, there will be seasons of pain and seasons of struggle. We can be there with you, we can be there, but we may not be able to push you out of what you're supposed to go through in your fire. So I say to people, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And I pray that this nation will start to move towards the injustices that we have seen, and that the righteous will rise and start to build homes, release material, have forums like these, and help believers, without saying at the end of the meeting that we have to now charge for everything that we've just talked about.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Amen. Amen. Go ahead and say a prayer for us and for everyone.
Let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you because your word tonight has continued to flow through your people. Thank you for Pastor Simon hosting us, giving us this privilege to speak to so many that are listening even at this late hour, or that will listen later. I pray, Father, for there to be wisdom, transformation, that our minds will be the mind that is in Christ Jesus, that there will be a shift in our hearts from a spirit of greed that is sweeping our nation and nations alike to a spirit of tolerance, a spirit of the peace of God that transcends even understanding. Let a remnant arise. Let men and women rise and take their place to help in the journey, to change how we think and how we see things. You said in your word that we must change the way we do things, repent, because your way of doing things is here. The kingdom of God is here. I pray that we will move into how you do things, because there's a way you do things, God. There's a way you do things. May our hearts be strengthened and encouraged. At this hour, Lord, we pray for anyone who is weary that was listening, that you will lift the burden of weariness, that you will lift the burden of giving up, that they will rise tomorrow and let it be a different Monday. Let them rise up saying, I can make it through Christ who gives me strength. I can do all things. May we rise tomorrow with a new perspective. We're just looking at the same thing from different angles. Give them a new perspective. Give them the eyes of Christ. Give them the eyes of the Holy Spirit, that we may be able to wage this war together and not quit. You say in your word that any one of us who puts his hand on a plow and looks back is not worthy. Father, give us the strength not to look back. Give us the strength not to give up easily. That person who wants to quit their job tomorrow because they've just been having a hard time, but they can wade through it because of your strength, give them a word tonight. That person who has to make a decision that is so tough because of circumstances beyond our understanding, give them strength tonight. We release boldness and courage. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
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 Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, gentlemen and lady. We really appreciate your time. You're busy people. There's a lot you're doing, but we are glad that you have educated a lot of people. May God bless you. To everyone out there, Sober Sunday continues next week. We are considering continuing with this topic and doing money in relationships. So maybe we'll answer a lot more that question on couples and money. And we're looking forward. Keep checking on our website and on our pages to see what we are talking about next week. God bless you. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate. Leonard, enjoy your time out there in the village. And thank you, Gladys. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Julian. I'll see you within the week and bring out the books.
All right.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone, and have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.